Whether you're a founder just starting out, a seasoned business owner looking to expand, or simply interested in learning about the world of business, this podcast is for you. My name is Mario Schäfer, CEO at OneID. In each episode, we will explore topics related to the creation, growth, and globalization of businesses, from ideation and funding to marketing and operations. Our guests will share their insights, experiences, and lessons learned along the way. Join us as we dive into the world of entrepreneurship and business on this podcast. Please follow us on YouTube. I'm here together with Martin Valks. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself? How did you start in the pharmaceutical industry?
Thank you, Mario. I'm really honored by your invitation and can tell a little bit about myself. I hold a doctorate in veterinary medicine from the University of Utrecht and a Bachelor of Science in Marketing of the Netherlands Institute of Marketing. And I've been the last 30 years busy with consultancy, but also as senior executive in the pharmaceutical and medical technology business. I started in the veterinary pharmaceutical industry as a medical science liaison, and then worked in diverse roles, climbing responsibility in marketing, sales, business development, and market access. During this time, I also joined big companies like Acino and Novartis, as well as smaller companies like Coloplast, and Acino Pharma, responsible for profit and loss in triple-digit million euro budgets and realized double-digit compounded annual growth as well. Also managed some acquisitions and integrations of 3 double-digit million annual sales products acquisitions of AstraZeneca and Astellas and Sanofi. And I also founded my own consultancy, Marvapharm, as well as a digital health app called Flared.
In your opinion, what are some of the biggest challenges facing pharmaceutical startups today?
It's a process, of course, in and out licensing of pharmaceutical products at various development stages involves both challenges and opportunities. If I can summarize phase one, there are mostly limited clinical data and there's a very much regulatory uncertainty. But there you can have early partnerships that can offer both funding and expertise. Then you go to phase two, where encounters with uncertainty and competition, but also you can have partnerships that mitigate these risks and then provide access to new technology to go through this next development phase. And then the last phase, the phase three, they entail very high cost for clinical trials and regulatory scrutiny. But successful trials can increase the value and attract more partners for funding as well. And in conclusion, you can say you need to do careful due diligence and negotiate all your steps through the development to navigate these risks and maximize the benefits of licensing of agreements.
Point that I would like to add is the intellectual property. I've seen several projects, they really stay or fall with the level of intellectual property they have. A lot of pharmaceutical innovation comes from the academic setting, from basic research, and if the patent strategy is not chosen right in the beginning, let's say for the how to protect the technology around the compound, how to protect the compound itself, in which territories to protect it, it can be very difficult later on to find a licensee or to find a development partner for this drug, because in the end, as you rightly said, Martin, these are really long development cycles with really high costs, especially in the clinical phases. And then if there's not a really proper designed intellectual property around which will give market exclusivity to the innovator, it's really difficult to find a partner to bring this to the market.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's completely right that protecting the intellectual property, you need to have patent lawyers and good advice from consultants that are aware about the commercial area. So what is kind of is already around in this field of indication or the formulation that you're working on. And that's why I think good consultancy from patent lawyers and consultants is really important.
Apart from the discussed, what are some common pitfalls in the R&D phase that startups should avoid?
I think there's like 5 different main pitfalls, and I would like to discuss these pitfalls, the result of these pitfalls and solutions. Number 1, it's commonly known that pharma R&D has only 1 to 3% probability of success. funders, they know this and will have a loss of trust if you do not timely inform them about any milestones in development that you have not reached. The solution for this is really to focus on the target to timely deliver these milestones. And if not, then timely switch and you are actually going to another indication area. The second one is too late fundraising. If your cash is depleted, you will not be able to pay for your labs and for your employees. Start in time with fundraising and get help to do that. The third part is developing a Me Too product. It's clear if you are the sexiest CAR-T or ACD product, then you will be very low in competition and you will not have any reimbursement for the drug. It's either to be better or cheaper when you have a Me Too product, but you cannot have neither of them. And the fourth part is lack of market access and pricing. There again, if you don't have reimbursement or low reimbursement for the drug, you will not get the return that you will need to pay back the investors. There, it's very important to prove with health economics that your drug is actually giving a better return on investment. And that's why health economics in time is important.
We already discussed it, the crucial need to secure funding for pharmaceutical startups. So in your experience, what are the best strategies to secure that?
Funding is crucial for pharmaceutical startups due to these high costs that are associated with drug development, clinical trials, regulatory compliance, manufacturing, and marketing. Lately, we have a new situation in the market, which is called a bear market. Over 40% of the global biotech has less than 1 year of cash. This means that emerging by do the majority of clinical trials. There are like 600 assets in phase 3 in the US alone. The second problem is that the sellers, they have increased and the buyers' numbers have decreased or are flat. And this results in a mismatch between the sellers and the buyers. What are the strategies that you can deal with to overcome this? One is increasing of the funding in time, as mentioned before. And secondly is getting this self-commercialization of the biotech, that you're not dependent on this top 10 of pharmaceutical industries anymore, but you're actually doing it yourself. You can form conglomerates with other biotechs. You can hire experienced market access or market research or brand strategists. You can also hire contract sales organizations. And this is how big companies like Moderna and BioNTech has done their launches of the mRNA vaccines.
Some points that I've also seen which have been successful in pharmaceutical startups. Some drugs might have an application in animal health targeted to production animals or targeted to domestic animals. The development might be cheaper or already included in the data sets that anyhow you have to generate for your clinical development. There might be some, let's say, cheaper market access where perhaps you can raise additional funding to get into the market with the drug sooner in a different segment. This might be something to consider in certain cases. What I've also seen, perhaps an exotic way of fundraising, is to get some manufacturing companies involved in the fundraising. If you give them some exclusivity that they will produce this product for a certain time for the world demand, some companies, they have been quite keen then to co-invest into the project, whilst they might not be able to cover the full clinical development of project, but they are willing to co-invest in order to be part of the project and then to earn revenues from a later manufacturing if it takes place.
Yeah, absolutely good points, Mario. I really encourage that sort of creativity and thinking out of the box.
What do you think? How do emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, how do they shape the future of the pharmaceutical industry?
It's a really important point. Of course, there's emerging technologies, particularly in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and they are significantly shaping the future of the pharmaceutical industry. And these technologies are being applied across various stages of drug development and healthcare delivery, and they are leading to these transformative changes in how drugs are discovered, developed, and brought to market. Some of the key ways that a startup can deal with AI and machine learning They are like drug discovery and development, but also in clinical trials. The selection of the targets, etc., is much improved and facilitated by these AI tools. In conclusion, that AI and machine learning are really revolutionizing the pharmaceutical industry and improving the efficiency and effectiveness at various levels. They offer significant promise in addressing some of those pressing challenges in the industry. That can be reducing of the cost or speeding up drug discovery, or to enhance patient outcomes and ensuring regulatory compliance.
Exactly, Martin. Just like yourself, I believe that there's a huge impact in all these fields, especially as we just discussed, clinical trials are the major cost driver of development, especially in the clinical phase 3. Of course, these can be optimized, the trial design, the patient recruitment, the prediction of outcomes, reducing the trial times and costs, and especially these predictive analytics to see which will be the market trends, which will be the development of these disease areas, can also bring a much clearer picture of what you mentioned earlier on the health economics, on the development of the segment itself. Just like you said, it starts at the beginning already for some years. There's some computational drug design where new compounds are tested, and this is getting better and better, bringing new chemical entities which are promising drug candidates in order to interact with the human metabolism. A quite interesting field, looking forward what comes out of this over the next years. To close, Martin, what are the current trends that you are seeing in the pharmaceutical startup space?
The main tactics we have already mentioned regarding these funding challenges, but what other trends we are seeing is the top 10 pharma companies, which are the main target for buying these assets from startups, that they only produce less than 5% of those drugs in their global pipeline. And they each have like about $0.5 to $1 billion of firepower per asset. And that's why they're still very important in getting these drugs to market. And you should also consider that even if their drug is not the best in class, it will still be very tough to compete with these top 10 pharma companies. The second trend that you can see is novel modalities. They're really coming up and becoming more important. Strategies for startups to cope with the competition include targeting the mid-sized pharma companies or looking at partnerships between those biotech companies. And the third one is the trends that the pharmaceutical space have together. One is that AI and machine learning that we already mentioned. One is the biotech and genomics. Another is digital health and telemedicine. Then you have all sorts of orphan drugs and rare diseases coming up, and this is still going to continue. Microbiome-based therapies. Then you have blockchain that is enhancing the supply chain security and data transparency. The remote clinical trials, adoption of these virtual and decentralized trial platforms. And then you have advanced drug delivery systems, innovations like wearable injectors that can improve drug efficacy and compliance. And then to mention some of the few next ones are the collaborations, mental health issues, and regenerative medicine, looking more at stem cell-based therapies and tissue engineering for various conditions.
As we learned today, it's a challenging segment to build up a startup, whilst it's definitely a great industry with a lot of future, as you just lined out, Martin. Thanks for being our guest today. Looking forward what is there to come in the pharmaceutical industry in the next years.
I really appreciate your time as well and your attention, Mario. Wish you success with the next versions of the podcast, The Business Compact, and look forward to speaking to you again.